Christian parenting. Aloha, friends. Welcome to the Monica Swanson podcast, powered by Christian Parenting. I am Monica Swanson, mom to 4 boys, wife to Dr. Dave, podcast host, and author of Boy Mom and Raising Amazing. Here on the podcast, it is my goal to bring you practical advice and biblical wisdom for raising amazing kids and building strong families. You can always find show notes over at monicaswanson.com/podcast. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you'll be encouraged. Hey friends, you've heard me talk about HelloFresh before, and I'm here to remind you of America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh offers farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Now, I know a lot of you have told me that you are trying to sit down to dinner together as a family more this year, but what do you do about nights when your schedule is packed? Well, turn to HelloFresh's lineup of quick and easy meals, including their 15-minute recipes designed to help minimize mealtime stress. I know that this time of year, everyone's looking to revamp their eating habits, so look to HelloFresh's wholesome, health-forward options as well, like over 30 calorie-smart and protein-smart recipes each week. Go to HelloFresh.com/MonicaFree and use code MonicaFree for free breakfast for life. What? That's right, 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/MonicaFree and use code MonicaFree. Yay for HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to get to hang out with you here every week. And I hope you're having an amazing October wherever you are. If you have leaves changing, if it's a true autumn out there, wherever you live, I hope you enjoy for me, because I really do miss fall this time of year, living in Hawaii, where I know I'm not allowed to complain, but enjoy your fall sweater weather and all the things for me. But today is super special, and I'm so excited to share this really great interview with all of you. Many of you, like me, probably go way back with Max Lucado. Like, he was one of the first authors I read in my 20s when I was really growing in my faith. And when I found out that he was available to do a podcast interview, I got so excited. I was like, this is somebody so special in my faith journey. And then I get on with him and just discover that he is seriously, I told my family, I was like, that was the nicest man I've ever talked to. He's so sweet. And we chat about everything from golf and Hawaii to the tattoo he might get one day. But I invited him on to talk about his most recent book called God Never Gives Up on You. And this is the story of Jacob in the Old Testament, but it's really the story of God's grace, mercy, and relentless love. So I think Max's words will be an encouragement to you, whatever you might be facing in this season of life. I was really encouraged by everything that he shared. So I think you're going to enjoy this interview. But one fun kind of just life update from the Swanson family here on the podcast. I don't often get to share just what's going on in our lives, but because I know Max and I talk about golf, and we talk about how at that point when we were recording, I was getting ready to go to Arizona with Levi for the Drive, Chip, and Putt regional event. And also on September 20th, Matt Scharf, who's the good golf sensation on YouTube. I'll link to that interview in the show notes. But we also were talking about Levi and golf. Well, if you aren't on my email list, you may not know that Levi ended up taking the win in Scottsdale, Arizona, and has been invited to the national finals next April in Augusta, Georgia. So if you happen to be a golf family, you know how exciting that is. A couple years ago, I probably wouldn't have known how exciting it is, but our family will get to go to Augusta, Georgia. Levi will get to meet the pros and compete as a top 10 in the nation for the Drive, Chip, and Putt PGA event. So we are so excited. And if you happen to live in that region of the world, I'll be asking some questions as we get ready to go, because I'm thinking we might need to make this a little bigger trip and do a little exploring while we're over there in Georgia. So definitely message me if you live in that area or somewhere on the East Coast that you think we should visit. So we're really, really excited. Okay. And by the way, I should say, if you are not on my weekly email list, it's really easy to join. You can just go straight over to monicaswanson.com/subscribe. Leave your name and email address. Each week, I simply share a brief email with whatever is new on the podcast or in my writing. And then once a month, I share a little bit more with some links, some encouragement, usually something funny. And that's really the best place to be if you want to just keep up on all the happenings, be the first to know when I've got news. Again, monicaswanson.com/subscribe. I would love to have you join that crew. Okay, friends, now without further ado, let's jump in and hear from Max Lucado as we talk about what we can learn from Jacob about God's grace, mercy, and relentless love. I hope you're encouraged. Max Lucado, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.
And mahalo for having me on the program.
I love it. But really, this is such an honor. And I'm just going to have to open up by saying, you go back with me further than you would know. I remember reading your books in my early days of faith long ago, and then reading your children's books, which I just love, to my kids long ago. And now you're still going, writing amazing books, doing great things. So I just want to thank you for your ministry and everything you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Monica. It's a great treat. It's a great treat. Great to connect with you and with all your wonderful audience.
Well, thank you. And I love that. I do have a wonderful audience, but I'm super excited to talk about your most recent book today and all the other things. But before we dive in, could you just give a brief introduction for anyone who doesn't know you?
Yeah. I'm from Texas, although I've lived most of my life in San Antonio, Texas. I've been a pastor at the same church since 1988,
Amazing.
and I was ordained in 1979. I was a drunk until I was about 20, and had a pretty radical transformation, and started hanging out with a group of guys that were going to be missionaries, because the guys I was hanging out with were all going to go to jail, and I needed to change groups. And I ended up becoming a missionary myself. I lived in South America until from 1983 to 88. That's where two of our three kids were born. We came here.
Wow.
And started writing in the days of Brazil, and it's been good. It's been fun. I love writing. I love kids. Right now, I'm in I'm 68 years old, and about 5 years ago, I moved into a teaching pastor role of our church. No longer senior pastor. And the good news is I'm not in charge of anybody. I don't have to raise any money, and we've got my successor's our senior pastor, and he lets me preach about 20 times a year. And but we love what we do. Love. I got to say I love Hawaii. We owned a place, not a big place, nothing fancy, little condo on the Big Island.
That's all you need.
And back and forth twice a year for a bit 15 years. A good friend of mine wanted to recommit his wedding vows, probably in 2002, and I went over to do that and got hooked.
It happens.
And yeah, next thing we knew, we were back and forth.
So I love it.
Great place. Just love the people.
There's
just something contagious about the Aloha spirit.
Yes, I do agree. I love that. And you'll have to come back and hit my island sometime. We'd love to host you.
I've been there a couple of times, just I've jumped over a couple of times to preach and to see friends.
Well, my son Levi would love to golf with you, so I think we might need to talk about.
He would beat me. He would beat me for sure. I only golf on days that end in Y. That's the deal.
That's a good rule. He would like that. Oh my goodness. But sincerely, I do want to just take another moment to say thank you so much because when I look back at my own faith journey, I was reading your books so many years ago, and I believe you just have such a gift for taking some deep theological issues and bringing them down to earth, making them digestible and understandable. And you're funny and you just have such a gift. So I really appreciate that. When I look back, I have many memories of being impacted by your books. If I remember right, In the Grip of Grace, what was that like,
Mm,
1998? That was huge
yeah,
in
that
my
was a
life.
long time ago. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when my kids were young, I loved reading your children's books. And in fact, we keep them out on our main bookshelf to this day. But I remember, I think it was You Are Special about the Wemmicks and Punchinello, and how that message actually profoundly impacted my understanding of my identity in Christ. And I tell people all the time, yes, get that book for your kids, but also pay attention because there's quite a message in there for all of us.
I hope so. Hope
Yeah.
so. That's an interesting book because it's all over the world.
Mm.
I can't keep up with the number of languages it's in,
Wow.
and the reason is because, as you know, since you know the story, it's not a religious book. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's a metaphor,
Yeah.
and so China
Wow.
distributes that book. Not every school system, but there are
Mhm.
school systems in China
Wow.
of all
Wow.
that distribute that book. But you
So
know
good.
what I'd like to do,
Mm.
Monica? Let me test an idea. I don't think I've told, but maybe half a dozen people, so your
Ooh.
audience can help me here.
Wow.
I think I'd like to write a book for husbands.
Ooh.
I'd
Tell me
like to
about it.
write a book for husbands about being the greatest husband, something along the line of being an MVP husband.
Let's go.
And I've got a sudden heart for
Mm.
husbands. I
Mm.
mentioned that to some publishing people, and they said, "Well, men don't read books." I said, "Well, maybe they should."
Maybe they definitely should.
You You know, I think it doesn't come naturally for a lot of
Mm-mm.
guys to be a
Mhm.
great husband. They're good husbands, but they want to be a
Mhm.
great. And
Yeah.
what would you say? What would you think should go in a book
Oh, man.
about to if a guy wanted to really be a great husband?
Ooh.
What are
Wow.
the first steps in your mind?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think the first thing I think of is how many men haven't seen examples of or didn't grow up with a father who was a good husband. So I think
Yeah,
your voice that
yeah,
could come in kind of fatherly to these men would be really special, just speaking into them in a way that maybe they've never been spoken to before. So that would be my first priority is speak to their hearts and let them know how loved they are, and and just encourage them because yeah.
that's a good point because it doesn't come natural if you've not seen it,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You
Absolutely.
know, like you probably I tell people a lot, we parent like our parents.
Uh-huh.
We've already and
Mhm.
we've all been through premarital counseling,
Mhm.
even though we don't know we have, because we grew up in
It's
in
so
some
true.
kind of home,
Yeah.
And by nature, we husband like we saw our
Yeah.
father, we're wife
Exactly.
like our father, and
Right.
so yeah, good
Well,
point.
I'm curious how you learned to be a great husband because from what I recall of your story, you didn't grow up with that example either.
Well, you would have to ask my wife if I'm a great husband. We've weathered it. We've weathered it. Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll have her on next.
Oh, she's a delight. You would love
Ah,
her.
I would
She's
love to meet
beautiful.
her.
But
Ah,
we have been married for 42 years.
mm,
Yeah,
that's
42
great.
years. It's a
Incredible.
wonderful
It is. It's so special, and it's the greatest gift you can give your kids. So, I told you
thing. Mm.
before we hit record that I'm headed to Scottsdale, Arizona next week as we record, and we'll be also, besides Levi's Golf, we're going to be celebrating my parents' 59th anniversary while we're there. So that's pretty radical,
Wow.
right?
I thought 42 was pretty
I
good.
know. Well, I thought 28 was pretty good. So we all just can keep encouraging one another. Okay, well, today, before we run out of time, we need to get to a new book that you've written that I have so enjoyed getting an early peek at. And you say that this book is not for the saints, not for those of us who have it all together. It's called God Never Gives Up on You. You're reflecting throughout the book on the story of Jacob. Can you just tell us a little bit about what's in this book?
Well, by the way, thanks for letting me on the program. Real treat.
Ah,
Um, In case Jacob's an interesting person because everybody knows his name,
Mm-hmm.
even irreligious. Everybody's heard of Jacob or
Yep.
Israel, of course,
Mm-hmm.
his second. They may not know the story. He's the grandson of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
He's the second born only by a second
Second.
to his twin brother Esau.
Right.
He came out of the womb holding on to his brother's heel, which I mention in the book is a great triumph of irony because that's how he spent his life trying to pull others back so he could go forward. The
Mm-hmm.
striking thing about Jacob is that he's such a scoundrel, just such a scoundrel.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already talked about golf. I'll talk about it again. I play every week, not multiple times, but about once a week, and I play in the same group, and it's a bunch of hustlers. I love the guys, but man, their language is coarse. They're gambling, passing buckets and forth, and they're probably drinking too early in the day. And I can't believe they let a pastor play with them. They
I love that.
all the time, and they say, "Oh, sorry, Max, I wasn't supposed to," you know, and they remind me of Jacob.
Mm.
I think they intend well, but do well, well, not very well.
You're right.
And Jacob, he just seemed like he had to take this into his own hands. So before the story gets very far, he's cheating his brother, he's lying to his father, he's running from his family. He marries someone by accident. He falls in love with one sister, marries her sister, which is just the most ordinary story. Ends up having a gaggle of kids through two wives and two handmaidens, and it's just chaos, chaos. He wrestles with God literally. His sons go Rambo on a village, murdering everybody. So there are not many redeeming
Mm-hmm.
things about.
Yeah.
But the big story is God.
Yeah.
God is the hero,
Mm.
and that's why it's a story of grace.
Mm.
God's the hero of Max's story.
Mm.
God's the hero of Jacob's story,
Mm-hmm.
and in the end, there's a lot to learn from this guy. And I
Mm.
think the big way is God's faithfulness.
Mm-hmm.
That God never.
Hey guys, I want to take a quick second to tell you about a pretty great math curriculum. Whether you homeschool your kids or they go to school but could use a little extra help at home with their math skills, CTC Math is a great option I hope you'll check out. Now, I've written a little review of CTC Math over on my blog. I'll link to that in show notes, or you can go directly to the ctcmath.com website and see everything that's in there. But I want to tell you a couple of really cool features. See, CTC Math uses adaptive questions. These are interactive questions that change in difficulty depending on your student's ability. They use a smart algorithm that tracks your student's progress and delivers questions based on their needs. The student won't even know this is happening, and this helps them build confidence and master concepts. Now, I love their video tutorials. They are short, like 4 to 9 minutes long, so they don't drag it out all day, but they keep them interesting, interactive, and really fun, and their lessons are clear, complete, and so easy to follow. Now, there's a whole lot more great features that you'll want to check out over at the ctcmath.com website. One thing I love is that CTC Math offers a 12-month money-back guarantee, no questions asked. So really, you've got nothing to lose. Check them out. Let me know what you think. Again, there will be a link in the show notes, or go to ctcmath.com, and can't wait to hear how you like it. Hey friends, I know this time of year, many of you are dreaming of a tropical vacation. And if you're ready to bring the spirit of the islands into your home, look no further than Home Threads, where comfort meets coastal living. At homethreads.com, you can explore a collection inspired by the tranquility of the beach. From breezy linens to stylish coastal decor, they've got everything you need to turn your home into a seaside retreat. Over the holidays, I got to do a little shopping at Home Threads, and I got a beautiful silver silver frame that I'm capturing a photo of my boys from the holidays to remember it forever. And also, I was able to gift my son in California a gorgeous desktop lamp so he can think of us when he's working and studying. The Home Threads website has so many different things to offer, and it's beautiful. So be sure to visit homethreads.com/Monica and get a code for 15% off your first order. Because whether you're on the islands or dreaming of the sea, Home Threads brings the beach to you. Home Threads, love where you live. Again, 15% off if you visit homethreads.com/Monica. So good. And I love that each chapter you not only help us understand what's going on in the Bible, but then turn it and reflect on our lives as well. And I think that as parents, you're talking to a lot of moms here. We often feel like we're blowing it. At the end of the day, we're like, why would God even choose me to raise these kids? What was he thinking? I can't get this right. I think we can be really, really hard on ourselves. And so I think this book has just encouraged me as a mom to recognize that it's really not my story. I'm not the hero of this parenting journey. It's really about God and pointing my kids to God, even in my mistakes and brokenness. So such an important message. One thing you talk about that I think is important in this book is how important it is to look at the past before we move forward. For somebody who's dealing with some mistakes, maybe things that they want to get over, you talk about how Jacob needed to come face to face with his past, and we need to do the same. Can you speak into that a little bit?
Well, so Jacob, as you follow his story, Jacob is not unlike the prodigal son. The story of the prodigal son is rebelling against his father, ending up in a mess, and repenting and coming back home. And Jacob's story is like that. He didn't outwardly, well, yeah, he did rebel. I mean, he lied to his dad.
Yeah.
He ran away, and he ended up in a pig pen of sorts.
Yeah.
With his uncle Laban, and then kind of came to his senses, and it was time to go back. And to get back to Canaan or Bethel, he had to go through the land of Esau, his big brother.
Mm-hmm.
His big brother was kind of a 4x4 dude. He had a rifle rack on his pickup truck and tattoos. He was a muscle man. He was a hunter. He was a
Uh-huh.
fisherman, and he was never happier than when he was hunting down bucks and driving in trucks. That's the kind of guy that Esau was. And so Jacob did not know what he would find when
Yeah.
Jacob saw Esau.
Yeah.
And in order to get back home, he had to go through the land of Esau and come face to face with his
Mm-hmm.
past.
Mm.
There's a metaphor there. There's a principle there, and that is for us to really get home
Mm.
with God, with ourselves. We've got to come to grips with our past,
Mm-hmm.
and I think our past. And when I say our past, the decisions that we made for which we have regrets,
Mm-hmm.
choices that we would do differently,
Mm-hmm.
seasons in our lives, maybe that summer during college, or
Mm-hmm.
those 2 years when you were roaming the country,
Mm-hmm.
and you were just one dumb thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
We, we can't pretend that didn't happen. We
Right.
can't pretend, and we can't be defined by that.
Mm.
So the Christian faith says that when we say yes to Christ, he says yes to us, and he brings healing into our lives, not
Mm-hmm.
just for the future, but for our past.
Mm.
And so Jacob had to go through the land of Esau, and he didn't know what was waiting on him.
Mm.
And when he got there, I hate to give away the spoiler alert,
It's all right.
but when he got there, he discovered that God had already worked on Esau's heart,
Wow.
and Esau was soft. He
Mm.
was soft toward his brother
Amazing.
Jacob, and healing happened. And I
Wow.
pray that healing can happen, for all of us
Mm.
regarding our past. Here's
Yeah.
a practical thing, if I could go so far, um, to deal with your past. Set aside some time to talk to Jesus about it. Uh, Go away, spend as much time as you need. Get to a quiet place and say, Jesus, when I was 27 years old, I did that, and you know it, Jesus. I know it. And here's exactly what I did. I'm not going to pretend I didn't do it,
Mm,
but here's exactly what I did in that place, in that house, or here's what I did. And you know what, Jesus? Some stuff was done to me too,
mm-hmm,
and hurt, and talk to him like a friend. Talk to him like a and say, Jesus, where were you during that? Could you speak words over me?
mm,
Sometimes this is better done in the presence of a counselor or a
mm-hmm.
pastor
Yeah,
or even or a trusted friend.
yeah,
You're not needing somebody to tell you what you did was right or to cover
right.
it up. That doesn't work. But just get honest. Have a good get honest with God session about it. And I would hope and I think you will either sense or hear God speak words of grace
Mm,
over that.
wow,
And then it may take several times. It may take the rest of your life.
wow.
But God will speak words of grace over that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I say that with confidence is because we see it over and over and
Yes.
over in the Bible. For
Mm-hmm,
crying out loud, look at David. Look at
mm-hmm,
David.
mm,
The guy cheated, the guy seduced a woman and murdered her husband.
mm,
We put people in prison for that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And yet Psalm 51 is a great psalm of repentance and sorrow. Look at
mm,
Saul. Before Saul became the Apostle Paul, before
mm.
he built churches, he killed Christians.
Yeah.
And yet he got to the point, by God's grace,
Mm,
that he could say, this I do, forgetting what lies behind, I press forward to what
mm,
lies ahead.
yeah.
And so for your listeners today, I would say, I wonder if there's somebody who needs to, deal with that moment in the past,
Mm-hmm,
use of Jesus
mm,
and move into your future,
mm,
having dealt with it.
mm. That's huge. So why do you think we hesitate so much to receive God's grace?
Yeah, because we don't have anything like it on the
It's so
planet.
true. So true.
I mean,
You're
it's just so foreign.
right.
Everything is everything. Even the people who love us
Yeah.
well
Oh,
still have some conditional love,
yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
They
huge.
don't need to. They don't need to, and I don't need to. I don't intend to. But
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
still say, if you'll do this, I'll love you more.
Right.
There's a tad in there
Yes.
that with God, there's none of it. There's
Ah,
none of it.
ah,
We
the
need to
upside
always,
down kingdom.
yeah,
Yeah.
the upside down kingdom.
Ah,
And God sees the end from the beginning, and so He sees the end of our life from the beginning of our life. He
yeah.
knows every day we're going to live, every decision we're going to make.
Mm.
And still loves us. Still loves us.
Isn't
And
that
so,
amazing?
I might love somebody based on their life so far,
Mm.
but God loves people based on their life
Wow.
entirely.
Wow. That's stuff we could just chew on all day long. And I love it. And I think for us moms too, I love this idea of taking time away and reflecting on a time in our past, but sometimes it's just at the end of the day that we feel
Yeah,
like we've blown it, lost our temper, we're selfish with our time, whatever it might be. I think even in those small moments, we can sit before the Lord and do the same thing in a little microcosm way, right?
yeah, and yeah, because we don't have the luxury sometimes
Hmm. Hmm.
of getting away for a day
Right.
with
We
a
dream of
prayer journal.
that.
Yeah, we dream of it.
Right.
Where do you buy
Right.
that?
But I love this, the idea that his grace is never ending and we can sit before him every day and just receive that grace because it's not all about us, which is such great news for all of us parents and for all people. And really related to that, but I was hoping you would touch on briefly before we close just the message of the gospel and how Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection actually shows up in Jacob's story and in all of our stories. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the unique element of our faith that separates our faith from any other
Mm-hmm.
religion or philosophy is that every other religion or philosophy says do, the
Mm,
Christian faith says done.
mm,
Uh, every other faith says do this, do more, be better, learn more. But the Christian faith says done. It was done for us. It was accomplished by Jesus on the cross. But just yesterday, I ran into a friend who had just gotten a new tattoo,
mm.
and she said, "Are you ever going to get a tattoo?" And I said, "I have thought about it. I have." She said, "What would you get?" And I said, And I've not done it yet, Monica, but I wouldn't be
I'm
opposed
going to
to
stay tuned.
it. Okay. And it's a beautiful Greek word, tetelestai,
Mm,
tetelestai. And that's the phrase Jesus used when he hung on the
mm,
cross. And he said, "It is finished."
mm-hmm,
Some say tetelestai, but
mm.
tetelestai,
Yep.
it is paid. It is paid. I'd
Wow.
love to have that tattooed right here on my wrist if I ever got up the courage, so
All
that I
right.
could tell people, so people would see it and say, "What does that mean?" I said,
Absolutely. There we
okay,
go. I'm
take
thinking
the time.
70th birthday, maybe, you
Okay,
know.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
I
And
love
on
it.
the other, I put 316. I put the
Mm-mm.
number three, and then hold on. Let's see if I can do this. I put
Uh-huh.
that symbol. Isn't that
Ooh,
beautiful?
that's beautiful. Here,
316.
wait.
And
We're
this,
gonna we're gonna take a picture because people won't see this. Okay,
oh,
let's
they
hold
won't.
on. No,
Okay,
but I'm gonna take a picture to show.
we are.
There we go. I'll
16.
put that picture in show notes. So,
I put God so loved the world that He gave
hmm
His one and only Son. How did I
um,
get off on that, Monica?
I love that you're talking about the gospel, and
Yeah, the gospel. They to tell us, it's finished.
yeah,
It's a done deal.
I love it.
And so I think Jacob's story is a picture of
Hmm
absolute grace on the part of
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Because I really look hard. What did Jacob do? He prayed, I think, twice. There's two recorded prayers, and one of those prayers is a bit dicey. I wrote a whole chapter because
Yeah,
he was
you did.
negotiating with.
Yeah.
The other prayer is a beautiful prayer to his
Mm,
credit.
hmm
Uh, he there's not a recorded sermon. There's not really
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
as an example of morality
Yeah.
or a father,
No.
not the best.
Mm-mm.
But
Mm-mm.
God had made a promise. He had made a promise that He would bless the world through the descendants of Abraham, and He kept that promise. So it's grace. It's just all grace. So I think there's a lot of gospel in there.
Oh, so good. Well, I hope everybody can read it. I'll be linking to it in the show notes, of course. And if people just want to find and follow you right now, where can they go online to track you
But
down?
right now I'm in my office. You didn't do that, did you? No, maxlucado.com. Max Lucado.
Awesome. And you're
I'm in
even,
San Diego. I'm at the Oak Hills Church. Come and see us sometime.
mhm.
I'd love to see you
You're
all.
even on the gram. You're on Instagram. We've been watching
Yes,
you.
yes, yes. Yeah, I do all that stuff.
You do.
I'm
You're
cool.
so
I'm
hip.
on the cutting edge.
I love it. Well,
And I'm
thank
gonna
you.
get it. I'm gonna
And
get it.
you're gonna get a tat.
I'm gonna,
I like
become a surfer just like your son.
I can't wait. This is all very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a joy talking to you, and I love your book, all your books, but this most recent one is really special. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and all the best to you and your beautiful family. I hope your son does great at the golf tournament.
Thanks so
Terrific.
much. Thank you. Aloha for now. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Max Lucado, and links to his book and where you can follow him and all the other things will be found at monicaswanson.com/Max Lucado. And that's Lucado. I had so much fun talking with Max, and I hope you were really encouraged. And we have so many more great interviews coming up this fall and winter. So many topics I can't wait to share with you all. So be sure you've clicked on that follow or subscribe button on your phone where you follow podcasts. And also be sure you're on my email list, which you can join at monicaswanson.com/subscribe. That's the best way to make sure you never miss anything. I keep my emails short and sweet, and once a month I share some fun links and encouragement and fun. So be sure to join. Again, monicaswanson.com/subscribe. All right, you guys, thanks for being here. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And until next time, aloha.